So it's only the 4th of July at time of recording this video, and it's already been a crazy year at Chelsea Football Club. So let's get into the news, shall we? Hey, hello everybody, welcome back to the Blue Pride of London. I am your host Nathan, and it's an absolute joy to see all of you here today. This is your weekly Chelsea news video going forward every single week. I'm going to try and release a video every single Monday to talk about the last 7 days within the Chelsea sort of like spectrum, really, and what a 7 days it's been. What a 4 days it's been. What a start of the year. And if at any point you do enjoy this video, it would mean so much to me if you would hit the like button just down there. And if you want to stay up to date with anything to do with Chelsea and what we do on this channel, please hit the subscribe button as well. It would mean so much to me and it does help out the channel. But guys, with so much to talk about, let's get straight into the news, shall we? Now, first things first, I think we should definitely talk about the football game that we had over the weekend, and what a doozy it was. In my opinion, it was probably the best game of football that I've seen Chelsea play in this season so far. It was a complete sensational advert for the Premier League. It just showed two teams that were desperate to make up ground to Man City, who are currently at the moment 10 points clear at the top of the table after a 2-2 draw at Stamford Bridge between Chelsea and Liverpool. And this game pretty much had everything, especially within the first 45 minutes, especially in the first 16 seconds. Now, I've watched an awful lot of review videos and I've watched a lot of television about this incident between Mane and Lukaku, and people are on the fence about was it a red card or was it a yellow card? In my personal opinion, firstly, as a Chelsea fan, I want it to be a red card. Without a doubt, he led up, he jumped up, his arm went into Aspie's face, and he went down. And you could probably say, in my opinion, he was lucky that it was in the opening seconds of the game. If that happened any other point during the match, it probably would have been a red card. But luck has it, it was in the first 16 seconds, or in the first 6 seconds when the actual incident happened, he only got away with a yellow, but I could also see why it was a yellow. There's an awful lot of talk that he kept his eye on the ball, he didn't sort of like swing his arm out to try to hit Lukaku, but you've also heard an awful lot of players and ex-players turn around and say, at the end of the road, he didn't seem to be vicious, he's not a vicious player. So a yellow card can also be sort of on the verges. And I've also read and watched an awful lot of videos about ex-referees who have turned around and go, yeah, all right, we could see it being a yellow. It's early in the game. He was probably influenced by the fact how early it was. But also I can see how if he got sent off, we couldn't necessarily sit there and go, well, that's a bit of a shock to everybody. Within 9 minutes later, he scores the opening goal of the sort of game, which, if he wasn't on the pitch, he wouldn't have scored, but it would have changed the way Liverpool would have played that game anyway. So how would it have affected the game? We don't know, because in the day he stayed on the pitch. But this game had everything in the first 45 minutes. Captain America had a sensational chance within the opening couple of minutes. He tried to go around the keeper, but the ball was sort of spinning in the air and he didn't sort of have his touch the best way that he wanted. And it was sort of like covered up by the Liverpool goalkeeper quite quickly. And then, a few minutes later, Mane scores the opening goal. Trevor Chalobah tried, I don't know why. I don't know why he decided that he tried to head the ball, which was pretty much at knee height. But that's the decision that he made, and it was the wrong decision, and Mane found his way on goal. He had the perfect touch to take it around Mendy, and as much as Lukaku tried to get on the line to try to anticipate where Mane was going to put it in the goal, he scored the opening goal. And it did. It angered a lot of Chelsea fans because obviously we all assumed he should have been on the pitch, but we could appreciate the talent. And there's a little bit against the run of play, in my opinion, as well. Chelsea were definitely the more dominant team within the opening 10 minutes, but Liverpool got us on the break. Now, with Liverpool's second goal, you can't deny the class of Mohamed Salah. Like, he is a sensational footballer and he always makes everybody guessing. When he comes around the side, he is an absolute master of making the goalkeeper double guess, and he was able to sit there without even touching the ball, without even looking anywhere, and he decided where he wanted the ball to go. And Mendy had no choice. Mendy was sat there going, "What is he going to go for my sort of left-hand side and sneak it into the inner post, or is he going to go to the right-hand side and try to curl it round to the other side of the goal? And, Mendy had a choice to make and he just made it wrong. But you cannot take away the absolute genius of Mohamed Salah's goal. And, straight away then, I was watching the game going, right, that's it, we're dead and buried here. But Chelsea played an absolute blinder for the rest of this half. They were dominant in midfield. Chelsea only had 2 midfielders technically in midfield, and they dominated the 3-man midfield that Liverpool had. They were always there, they were always closing down, and it looked like that we had the extra player in midfield. And Chelsea got themselves back in the game with a sensational bit of brilliance, a tactical masterclass with a volley by Kovacic. Do you know what? I've watched this goal so many times and I still don't understand how he did it. The technique, he was backpedaling, he did a bit of a sort of Karate Kid, Danielson type kick, and he was off the ground. And, you look at the pundits and you look at the ex-football players and they're like, do you know what? You could try that 100 times and you would skyrocket it all over the stadium. But he hit it so sweetly. And the technique that he had to get his foot underneath and flick the ball up, so the ball did this type of rotation in the air for it to curve up and down again. And the goalkeeper, he did his best. It was always like, why am I even bothering trying to save this? And it was a brilliant goal in the top right-hand corner. And just before half-time, Christian Pulisic sort of made up for his earlier mistake and scored a injury time equaliser. And we went into the break at 2-2. And what a sensational 45 minutes worth of football it was. In the second half, both teams were going for that winner. Both teams needed to make ground on Manchester City. And it was end to end. Both goalkeepers were making some sensational saves. Mendy making a brilliant backpedaling, jumping in the air save from Mohamed Salah. And it was probably... it was the game of the season that I have seen Chelsea play. Yeah, it was only a point. To come back from 2-0 down to not win it, in some aspects you'll go, oh, do you know what, we got away with that one there. But I also do feel that a lot of Chelsea players would sit there and think, oh, we should have won this game. But then again, so should the Liverpool players. To have 2 goals at Stamford Bridge within the first 15-20 minutes and to walk away with a point, both teams were disappointed by the fact that they didn't win it. Plus also the fact that, they have both dropped points on Man City. Now, Liverpool do still have a game in hand and both teams do still need to play Man City. I think we've got to play them at the Etihad. So that's a must-win game, and we play that within the next, I think, 6 to 10 games as well. That is a must-win game for Chelsea, and we have to hope that Liverpool can also beat them and if, Man City drop points. But considering Man City are on an 11-game unbeaten run, it's going to be a tough ask. So are Chelsea out of the title race? Who knows? Time will tell. We still have another 18 games left to play. So there's still hope, there's still chance. But that's the game out of the way. Let's talk about some of the Chelsea news that has also come this week. Now, I suppose there's no better place to start than the infamous interview by Lukaku with Sky Italia. I don't know where to stand on this. As a Chelsea fan, I am extremely upset that he said these things. I don't understand why he said such things, but I also have to question how it was released. So, for those of you who don't know, and if you don't know this story, then you must be hid under a rock because it's been all over the sort of sports broadcasts for the last 4 or 5 days. Lukaku had an interview with Sky Italia, and it was apparently midway through December when this interview took place, and he spoke highly about the Inter Milan fans. He spoke highly about Inter Milan, how he wanted to return to Inter Milan in his prime, and when he left Inter Milan, he didn't like the way that he left, plus he also expected to go to a bigger club such as Real Madrid, Barcelona, or Bayern Munich. But of course, Chelsea came knocking on the door, so he decided to return to Chelsea. Now, when Lukaku re-signed for Chelsea, as every Chelsea fan out there in the world, we were excited. Our golden child has returned. He had unfinished business. He was a boyhood Chelsea fan. We all saw the video of him coming as a visitor to say, one day I will play on this pitch. And yeah, he hit the ground running. 2 sensational goals against Arsenal. And he did have that little dip in form before his injury and COVID. And, he did do this interview midway through his injuries and time out of the sort of like the main team. So he may have been frustrated. He may have felt that he was ready to start playing. But the one thing that I will always praise Chelsea is that when our players come back from injury, they are generally ready to start playing. Unlike some other clubs, which you see that they rush their players back, they're not quite ready. What we did with Pulisic, for example, he came back from his horrendous injury and he was sort of dripped back into the form, back into the fact that, try to get yourself match fit, try to get yourself a bit ready. And, even though he hasn't quite reached the heights that we expect from Christian Pulisic, he is a player that we can rely on to score some big goals like he did at the weekend. But one thing I will also say about the interview itself is even though it was recorded midway through December, the fact that the comments were sort of dripped out onto social media and everyone was sort of like, what is this going on? What's he talking about? And left a lot of people talking about the interview before the actual interview was released itself. So why would they do that? They would have known it would have caused a lot of problems with his current club. They would have known it would have caused a lot of problems for Lukaku. Why not just release the interview all in one big form instead of trying to drip the information out and start having us ask the type of questions that we were in fact asking? And also the comments that he made. Now, I'm going to sit here and go, I think he was basically answering the questions that he was asked. It was an Italian broadcaster for Italian TV and they were asking about Inter Milan. So of course he's not going to sit there and sort of bum out Inter Milan. He knows what the fans think of him now. The Ultras are very, very upset that their best player moved away, even regardless of how bad their club is at the situation with finance and losing some of their best players, probably losing the manager who won their league for the first time in 10 years. He had no other option but to leave. Inter needed the money, so he came to Chelsea. But if you look at the questions that were actually asked of him, he was asked, are Inter fans the best fans in the world? He's not going to go, no, of course they're not. Chelsea fans are the best fans in the world. He's going to answer that in the best possible way. Lukaku's not stupid. He's not silly. He's a very well thought, planned out footballer and person. So I think at that particular time as well, if he was asked by a British broadcaster, are Chelsea fans the best fans in the world? Of course, he's going to turn around and go, yeah, Chelsea fans are the best fans in the world. So I think there was a lot of play making going on there with the broadcasters, with the interviewer to try to sort of back Lukaku into a bit of a corner. Maybe he should have added a few more sort of sentences on by sort of going, yeah, Inter fans are great fans. They welcomed me with open arms. But, I'm working for Chelsea now and Chelsea fans are singing my praises. They love me when I'm on the pitch. They sing my name. And even though we're sitting there, we're not talking about a player who scored 20 plus goals already. No, I think he's still only in single digits. We still expect bigger things and we are praising him for what he can potentially do. Remember, he was supposed to be our missing piece. We won the Champions League last season without a sort of a striker firing on all cylinders. Yeah, we had Tammy, yeah, we had Timo, but they weren't performing to the level that we thought they were. He was supposed to be our missing piece, and he showed that at the game against Arsenal. He was the player that we were missing, get the ball in the box. But you got the other side of the interview as well, where you sort of go the coach isn't playing the tactics that I thought he was. Which also raises the question that was this a Chelsea signing or was this a Thomas Tuchel signing? If Thomas Tuchel wanted the player, of course, he would sit there and go, right, you are my main guy, you are my main striker. We are going to play a game of football that can sort of benefit you. Rather, Thomas Tuchel going, well, Chelsea have signed this player, but he's got to play in my system, which seems to be his sort of little bugbear when it comes with the manager. Why he would express these feelings openly to an Italian media, I don't know. But then again, we don't know the sort of conversations that have been happening behind closed doors between the coach and the player. One thing I will also sort of say about their relationship is that when a player talks about their manager, they generally say the manager or the boss or the gaffer. he names Thomas Tuchel as Tuchel. You know, like he goes, oh yeah, you know, this, that, and the other, and Tuchel did this, and you know, that's a funny way to address your boss within football. Now, I don't know if that's because they've got a better relationship than others. I don't know if all Chelsea players call the boss by their name. So that, again, that can be all sort of blown out into speculation. But also the fact that he said he wanted to go to a bigger club, and he named those three. He named Barcelona, which, you know, I don't know why you want to go to Barcelona at the moment. They are not doing brilliantly. You know, they're in the Europa League. They're not doing great in the league. Real Madrid, again, they are financially sort of struggling. Yeah, they're top of their league, but you expect Real Madrid to be at the top of their league. And, you know, Bayern Munich could arguably say are one of the best teams in the world. But again, they play for a league where, you know, you expect them to sort of win every single season, to win the trophies. But, you know, he got the option to go to the Champions of Europe. Yeah, we were outsiders. Yeah, no one expected Chelsea to win it, especially after what happened with Frank Lampard and Thomas Tuchel coming in. But that was the thing. He's talking about these three clubs, that's every player's dream to play for. But surely your dream is also to play for the champions of Europe, the team that is defending the cup, the team that has been playing quite well up until recent months. I don't know. But coming out of the sort of news rags in the last day or so, he had a meeting with the coach and some of the Chelsea board on Monday afternoon. He came in for training, he went in for the meeting, and apparently the air has been cleared. The Chelsea board have backed the decision that Thomas Tuchel made by dropping him against Liverpool. Could we have won that game with him in the team? We don't know because he wasn't in it. We can't talk about speculation like that. And it turns out that after the meeting, he went out and had a very, very good training session. So does that mean he could potentially start against Spurs midweek in the League Cup semi-finals? But the air has been cleared. He's been told that he has to make a public apology to the Chelsea fans and sort of explain his reasons. And by the looks of it, the main reason being is that he wanted to try to build bridges with the Inter fans. He knows that he disappointed them, he knows that he's upset them, and he wanted to sort of clear the air a little bit. So let's just see what happens in the next few weeks, in the next few days. And at the end of the road, football fans are fickle. We are. You know, if there's a player that we don't like and we can sit there and boo him and this, that, and the other, but if he starts performing, if he starts doing well, if he starts scoring goals, because that's when he can do his main talking. On the pitch, scoring goals, that's how he can apologise to Chelsea fans. But the good news is he's going nowhere this January. He's not going to Inter Milan, and apparently there is not going to be a player swap between Harry Kane and Romelu Lukaku in this January transfer window. So Lukaku, you know what to do. So what else has happened within this last week of Chelsea? I suppose, you know, we are in the January transfer window, so we've got to start talking about potential transfers. And one of the big decisions that Chelsea have made this window is that Thiago Silva has written an extension to his contract. Thiago Silva is staying with us until the end of 2023, and it is good news. Thiago Silva has played sensational since he has been at Chelsea. He's a few years younger than me. He's in his mid-30s. So the fact that he can still perform at this level, he is one of our most reliable defenders. He's one of our most reliable sort of players. I think he's captained the side once or twice when Aspo or Jorginho has been sort of like not in the team. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But he's a natural born leader as well. So he is good to have around the dressing room, which is extremely positive to see. But when we go back to our potential defenders and the contract negotiations that are going on at the moment, of course, we have Rudiger, Christensen and Azpilicueta all out of contract at the end of the year, and they are now allowed to speak to foreign clubs. It has been reported that Rudiger has 5 clubs currently in negotiations or in conversations with his representatives. Barcelona seem to be sort of chasing the signature for Christensen, which means they can sign a pre-arranged contract for them to sign on a free transfer at the end of the season. And Azpilicueta looks like Barcelona is his next destination. But if you look at our actual defence right now, these are 3 players that are pretty much constantly in the team. Rudiger has played 20 of 21 Premier League games this season. He is a constant fixture in our back 3. So losing him on a free transfer as well would be a huge disappointment for club and Chelsea in itself. And if we lose all three of these players, who are we going to bring in to replace him? Yes, Thiago Silva has signed an extension, but he's on his way out. Trevor Chalobah is a growing defender. He is fantastic. But as you saw at the weekend, he is still learning his trade. He is still making mistakes that potentially could cost the team. This is not me dissing Trevor Chalobah at all. I think he has come on full guns blazing and has shown that he is a sensational footballer. But, he is still young. He is still learning. And he needs these type of players around him to try to develop. Christensen, he's been in and out the team for as long as I know. And I don't know why a player of his sort of capacity is sitting there trying to hold up, Chelsea for ransom. You do this or I move on. You do this. This is probably his best run within the football club since he came through into the sort of first team. Rudiger, by the sounds of it, he wants to be a top earner at Chelsea Football Club, along the lines of Kai Havertz and Timo Werner, and he feels that he deserves it. And he probably does. He does. He has made a brilliant contribution to this Chelsea team in the last 12 to 18 months. So maybe the fact that he wants more money, that he wants to be a bit more greedy, it's all up in the air at the moment. So let's just watch this space. Let's watch the television. Let's read the back of the papers and find out exactly what is going to happen in the transfer window. Going into next week, it is a big week for Chelsea Football Club. Of course, we have the first leg of the League Cup semi-final against Tottenham, which, at the end of the road, it's a London derby. We can't deny the fact that it's the Mickey Mouse Club of, the 4 domestic cups that we play for in England. But at the end of the day, it's a London derby, and we're going to want to do one over Spurs. It is that simple. We're going to want to do one over Conte as well because, he's the next manager. We want to show that, we're still a good club. And, with how many points we are back from Manchester City, maybe this is a great chance to try to win a bit of silverware early on in the year to give the team the confidence to run on to a 14-game unbeaten run to try to close that gap on Man City and keep the pressure up. Because why? The numbers are still there. We can still catch them up. And Man City, they could drop points. Will they? That's a different question. And of course, we've got the FA Cup tie at the weekend as well. Should be a nice, easy game. But, at the end of the road, these guys are playing the big boys. They're going to want to cause an upset. It's always nice when one of the big teams go out to a lower league team. So, again, depending on what Thomas Tuchel is looking towards going forward, because we've got the second leg of the semi-final going on in the midweek, and then we go straight back into the Premier League. So is he going to rest some important players? And then also the next couple of weeks as well, we've got our goalkeeper going off to the African Cup of Nations to sort of play in there. So we've got to rely on Kappa, depending on how long Mendy is going to be out for. So big exciting week to come. A lot of information to come from this week still. So we're looking forward to everything that we can sort of learn and grow from. But guys, that is it. A nice long video for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've sort of consider subscribing to the channel. And if at any point you did like it, just hit the thumbs up button down there. And until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. And I will see you next week for another Chelsea news. See you later. Bye-bye.